Enterprises are resorting more and more to managed service providers, MSPs and MSSPs, for their cybersecurity. But are they doing enough? So, to help answer this question, UATES has invited one of the founders and thought leaders in the MSP industry, the esteemed Eldon Sprickerhoff. So, Eldon created one of the first MDRs, managed detection and response services. Welcome, Eldon.
Hi, Ashley. I'm very pleased to be here with you today.
Eldon, first let's get some history down. So what gaps in the marketplace led you to creating a cybersecurity service company in the first place?
So we've got to sort of go back to the beginning. So it's like the end of 2001, that was the ascension of the .com down into the .bomb era. Very few managed security services providers even existed back then. And what did exist was mostly focused on firewall management, vulnerability scanning. Even the vulnerability scanning that was being offered was external only. If there were services that were offering analysis of network traffic, it was basically looking at alerts that came from IDS appliances and just sort of email alerts out to clients. So in that environment, it's like a ripe opportunity to extend capabilities. That would be things that we did, like capturing all level of network traffic, be able to play it back as it were a DVR. Because you could do this, you could investigate every possible alert as though it was an active attack. You could identify root causes of it. You could sort of enforce an OODA loop analysis to interrupt attacks that were going on. And at the end, you could give an all clear to say that the attacker was evicted. So in short, the messaging we were using was, you could use the tooling that an incident response team would have at their disposal, but in the hands of operations staff. So instead of waiting, 24 hours or more to get someone on site, you could actively engage the attackers, and in combat, evict them, in minutes rather than hours, and kick them out before they had a chance to dig in too deeply.
So was it difficult to convince the early customers the service you offered should and could be offered as a service?
Well, short answer, yes. At the very beginning, it was what they would call sort of a blue ocean scenario. Very few competitors, and you have to establish the need. You have to build the market up. Part of the education process was to show how you could you could bring value. You identify needs, identify the pain points that you could solve. One of the big turning points was we had a Gartner analyst come in and talk to us. We talked about what we were doing, and they said, we'd like to classify you as an MSSP. I said, well, I know what it takes to be in one of those quadrants. You have to have this many number of firewalls under management, et cetera. And so we don't do that. We have never done that. And so we could never fit your classification of an MSSP. At the time we were calling it embedded incident response, collaborative threat management. So he sat up and was like, well, so what is it again that you're doing? I said, well, we're looking at the attacks that made it through all the security infrastructure, process, policy, that you have in place, kicking out the attacker to figure out how they got in and blocking it proactively. And so that a few months later, Gartner came out with this managed detection and response category after that. And so then there was this sort of en masse move from MSSPs to rebrand as MDR companies. And, not everyone had the capability to actually respond or define what response looked like. And that continues to this day.
So speaking of bringing us to today, so do you think the MSPs could be offering more?
Absolutely. MSPs, I think historically, they had an excellent profit margin, the excellent business of setting up things on-prem. Microsoft bringing everything to the cloud severely impacts that profit margin. I think the other side is that MSPs are looking for product differentiators that can solve problems of their clients that are sticky. And cybersecurity is absolutely needed. It seems like a very obvious next step from an offering perspective.
What about about GRC, governance, risk, and compliance? So it looks like the MSPs and MSSPs have pretty much avoided that space. Why do you think that's so?
So I think my gut feel is that MSPs are typically most comfortable reselling products offerings that are easily skewed. In a sort of a similar vein, I think MSSPs have looked at GRC as a consulting gig. So periodic analysis performed, on behalf of clients. So whether it's a PCI analysis, HIPAA review, and not necessarily from an offered as an ongoing managed offering. I'd say that there's a required sort of flash of innovation or insight that's required on their behalf to see that there's already tooling that exists that can be very easily implemented, folded into their offering to help those that are tasked with regular compliance efforts.
So, Garrett, I'm going to pass it over to you. So let's talk about UATest and MSPs and MSSPs.
Perfect. And I love the way Eldon took that. He goes, it is for the MSPs is about two things. It's about being able to bill, get the SKUs, and then it is the tooling. It has to fit in with what they're doing today. GRC is a scary, scary acronym. And in fact, I have marketing people that say, Garrett, never use it. That just chases people off. Okay? Okay, fine. Let me use a term and someone else use identity audits. What's important is the MSPs and MSPs are managing the identities already. They are the guys doing the bit twiddling on the IAMs, right? On your Oktas, on your reserves, on your jump clouds, on your ping. They're doing the management of identity. What UATest has done is built a plugin, tooling with the equipment they already have that plugs into the IAM and allows the MSPs and the MSSPs to conduct regularly scheduled identity audits. And who cares? Every industry cares. They're required for healthcare, for finance, for insurance, for doing business internationally, for doing business in California, if you're holding PAI and PHI, if you need to meet ISO, GDPR, etc. All of these customers need to be doing identity audits, and UATest is the product because it plugs into their existing tool and it is multi-tenanted, so the MSPs and MSPs can manage multiple, that allows them to enter comfortably in to the enterprise and to the world now known as GRC. That's it.
Okay, perfect. So it sounds like a great match for the MSPs. So let's wrap this up. Eldon, how can people get a hold of you?
My email is eldon.sprickerhoff@keldonventures.com. The spelling of my last name is somewhat problematic, so LinkedIn might be the easiest.
And if people want to get a hold of UATest, you can go to uatest.com or write us at info@uatest.com. Thank you so much, Eldon.
My pleasure.
Great stuff.